In to the Blitz podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Kane Schwartz, and I'm joined by my trying to think of a way to say that we've been hosting this shit together for a long time. Almost 2 years. We're coming up on episode 80, bro. Fucking crazy. So, hello to the guy that I've done 80 episodes of podcasting with, man. How's it going?
Hello to the guy that I've done 80 podcast episodes with. I went 4 in fantasy this week, so I'm kind of dreading talking about football right now, especially since I missed basically the entire 4 o'clock slate. So.
Yeah, what was the story behind that, dude?
I had to work.
Ah, yes.
Same thing next week, probably the same thing the week after that, and every week for the rest of eternity.
That's terrible,
fun.
But... yeah, I didn't
do
so hot in fantasy myself. I lost in the frat league, which sucked because I'm known to have a football podcast. And I'm 0-3 in the frat league, so that really sucks. And then I'm 0-3 at Duck League too. Just made a trade with Mitchell today to get Debo, which I feel pretty good about. So hopefully we can right the ship from 0-3. But yeah, it's kind of dismal in the fantasy factory. But yeah, feels good to be back. We had a nice exciting week of football this past weekend. Before we get kicked off, I just want to let everybody know it's looking good right now, knock on wood. But my Wi-Fi has been pretty fucking sketchy lately, because college students, operating off of a laptop with college Wi-Fi. That's just how things tend to operate sometimes. But yeah, the hope is we're going to get that upgraded in a couple of days, actually, so it'll be better after this week. But just want to let you guys know if we do cut out a couple times during the podcast, hopefully we'll be back. But if not, we'll make this a recorded version. We'll put it out on YouTube, Spotify, the whole spiel like we usually do, like I did with last week's episode. So with that, let's hop into Week 3 recap episode, and we start with the picks graphic, and Jaden used to do this back in the day, but we've put red under the incorrect picks and green under the correct picks, if it weren't clear. So let's kind of recap how our picks did this week, individually as podcasting mates. Jaden, you went 6-10 this week. 6 wins, 10 losses. You are 23 wins and 25 losses on the year. I came in at 9 wins and 7 losses this week, which made me feel pretty good. That's definitely my best week by far. Dolphins helped me out a lot. The Cowboys was a big one, non-consensus. But yeah, that puts me at 22 wins and 26 losses on the year. So I'm still working myself back from a hole. Mitch, he went 7 wins and 9 losses this week, so he finally ended his hot streak. But he's still 28 wins and 20 losses on the year. And then Tyler, he also had a nice week with 9 wins and 7 losses. On the year, he has 26 dubs and 22 L's. So, let's just run down the slate real quick. Steelers, Browns, obviously we already talked about that. Browns end up on Thursday nights. Panthers win surprisingly against the Saints, and I mean, there's definitely cause for concern in New Orleans now. A lot anticipated with them. New head coach, new quarterback. I mean, not new quarterback, but, healthy quarterback. Olave is there. There was a lot of good things expected for the Saints, but they really sucked against the Panthers. Jacob just hit us with go Ravens and go O's. Yeah, fuck yeah, man. Love to see a go O's. How about them Baltimore Orioles, man? About to make playoffs, actually. Anyway, we move on to Texans, Bears. I called it the toilet bowl among a lot of my Chicago Bears fans down here. Chicago comes out with the win, their first win of the year, beating Lovie Smith. The Colts come out with a surprising dub against the Chiefs. That was your spread alert of the week. Colts, Tyler was the only one that picked the Colts. I probably would have gone with that spread too. Bills, downed by the Dolphins and Tua. I was the only one to pick that this week, so that felt pretty good. Lions at the Vikings. The Vikings win that one. Me and Tyler had those. Ravens at the Pats. The Ravens put a beating on the Patriots for the most part. That was a strikeout on my part, but the rest of you fellas got it. Bengals Jets. We all picked the Bengals, so we're good there. Raiders Titans. The Titans come out with an upset victory to drop the Raiders to 0-3. Only 0-3 team in football right now, which is bizarre. But yeah, everybody but Mitch picked the Raiders, so good job on Mitch. Eagles Commanders. This was a really tough one to watch. If we could talk about this game like as least as possible today, that'd be fantastic. I'm really actually upset. The one thing I'll say is that Carson Wentz, I don't believe will play another game like that except when he plays the Eagles again at the Link. Like, they have so much mental real estate in his head. That's the only explanation because
That's
yes,
not good,
I know.
dude.
And that's the only explanation because that was horrendous on Sunday. Anyway, the Eagles do walk away with the win. Me, you, and Mitch had that one, but Tyler took my commies, and it disappointed him. Jags at the Chargers. We all picked the Chargers, and the Jags end up winning to continue their fucking hot start. The Rams beat the Cardinals. We all had that one. Cardinals fucking suck. Packers at the Bucks. Aaron Rodgers ends up possibly winning the last meeting between Brady and Rodgers. But yeah, me and Mitch had that one. You and Tyler had the Bucks. We all had the Falcons when they beat the Seahawks in Seattle. Then for Sunday Night Football, me, you, and Mitch picked the 49ers, but the Broncos ending up winning that one in one of the ugliest football games we've seen in a very long time. And Cowboys-Giants was just as ugly for a while until it started to get better in the second half. You guys all went the Giants, but I did go the Cowboys, and Cooper Kush ends up with coming out with the win against the Giants to put them down to 2-1 and end their undefeated season. So that's a nice little recap, quick rundown of week 3 and the results there. But we did this last week, and personally, I'm super excited for it. We are going to readjust the power rankings that we put together last week. So you can see it in your graphic above, but I'll go ahead and list it off real quick for you for the listeners. Last week, at the end of last week, after all the results came out, we had the Bills at 1, Chiefs at 2, Bucks at 3, Eagles at 4, Chargers at 5, Ravens at 6, Green Bay at 7, Rams at 8, Dolphins at 9, Niners at 10, Vikings at 11, Broncos at 12, Bengals at 13, Raiders at 14, Saints at 15, Jags at 16, Cardinals at 17, Lions at 18, Browns at 20, Giants at 21, Commanders at 22, Steelers 23, Pats, Cowboys, Colts, Titans, Falcons, Seahawks, Jets, Panthers, Texans, and the Bears. In that order. So, what you thinking, man? What's our first move on the power rankings here?
Okay, so I've got the same one pulled up as you. Let me get it. So, split screen. So first order of business, I think, is you got to knock
the Chargers down, right?
Yeah, I think you do. Just because they're dealing with so many injuries, and like Rashawn Slater is a huge part of them that's not coming back. Like he's not going to play this year. I think that's probably got to move to the top of tier 2
behind the Dolphins.
I think they fall to 9.
The Dolphins.
Yeah, the Dolphins. Okay, next order of business.
The Dolphins up.
Dolphins are probably coming up into the top 5.
Oh,
I'm ready. I'm ready to move the Dolphins to the top 5.
All right.
So, I mean, obviously, teams being in front of one another right now, we're just moving stuff around.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put them at 3
Eagles.
right now.
Dude, are the Eagles 1?
I don't think so.
All 3 in front of them suffered losses this week.
Yes.
I think it is in front of Tampa because the injury problems with Tampa's wide receiver core are legit.
Yes.
I know Mike Evans is coming back, but everybody else is still hurt. So I think Philly in front of Tampa. Now, do we see any movement between KC and Buffalo? Do we like what we have here at the top 3?
I might. They did just lose to the Colts, who he had in the very bottom tier. So I think we've got to. I'd put the Eagles in head of the Chiefs, but not in front of Buffalo. What about you?
I did just say I wanted them. I think 3 is probably where I'd, because I still trust
Okay.
KC. I think KC lost that game more than like Indy beat them. There was just dumb mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I would probably have Philly at 3. Now, do we move Miami in front of Tampa?
Yes, I think it's unquestionable right now. I mean, Tampa, they're one of the teams that arguably, with a loss this week, and this is a little segment that we'll do later, but with teams suffering a loss this week, they arguably have the most to prove. I mean, they have not looked good so far this year. I mean, their their 2 wins come against the Cowboys in week 1, which was without Dak, and then they beat the Saints, surprisingly. But Tom Brady didn't really look like Tom Brady in either of those games. So I like the Dolphins better than the Bucs personally, and I think I might put the Ravens in front of the Bucs.
I was about to say that's probably where I'm headed next as well.
Let's do it. I mean,
so Bucs, are we ready to move them behind Green Bay too?
I mean, they lost to Green Bay this week. Got to.
All right, that's as far as I'm willing to move them down.
Okay.
Just, as of right now, I can't move them much lower than that.
All right.
Other than that, are we happy?
The 49ers need to move.
Are we happy with our top
okay.
7?
So before we hop into anything else.
Are we go with? Okay, well, I guess that's just the top 8.
Let me look at the top 8. Okay. Yeah. Dude.
I think it looks good.
Hear me out. Do you think the Jags belong in the top 8?
No. I do think that they're going to take a big jump into that, probably the middle of the second tier, not in the top 8 yet. I'm not ready to put them over against Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. You know, I'm not there yet, but we... Okay.
Do we want to shift the Chargers into the Rams spot, or are we still comfortable with the Rams at 8?
I think like I said, dude, the Chargers injury bug is hitting them hard.
And they're 1-2 right now.
Bosa probably going to miss a few weeks. Slater obviously done. We don't know when Keenan Allen's coming back. Jalen Goddard's hurt. So, yeah, I'm depending on Herbert's injury status, they might have gone lower, but since I don't really know what his situation is, I'm going to leave them at 9.
Yeah. 49ers got to move
San Francisco.
Yeah, 49ers got to move down.
Okay.
I mean, the Vikings.
Below Minnesota.
The Denver's also got to move down. All right.
So is San Francisco still in front of Denver regardless of this, or does San Francisco move really far down? Cincinnati I wouldn't call their win over the Jets a statement game, but
I think they go ahead I think they go ahead in front of the Niners and the Bucs.
I don't know.
Or the Broncos.
I don't know, dude.
Why not? I mean, the Broncos have just looked so terrible so far this year.
But they're 2-1.
That will not hold.
I know that they haven't really had the toughest schedules.
Shit. I mean, that's not gonna. Once they play any sort of level of competition, I mean, it's not gonna be good, man. I'm really sick about the Broncos.
Okay, well let's do something that needs to happen. Raiders are down in the bottom tier. That's got to happen.
I don't know. Okay.
They're 0-3. They're playing terrible. They're losing games that they should at least be in, and some of these games they're not even.
They've been in 2 games. They've been in the 2 games other than this week. They've been in the last 2 games the first 2 games came down to the wire.
I don't know, dude. The Chargers game, it really didn't feel like they were in it. And I know they lost, but they're the only 0-3 team, and I know they're the only 0-3 team.
All right, well, let's look at the guys.
Like they've got to come down.
Let's look at the guys in tier 3. Or let's look at the guys in tier 4.
I was about to say, let's fix tier 2. I know that I'm the one that moved the Raiders down, but let's. All right, Jacksonville's in tier 2 now.
Yeah,
pretty solidified. All right,
I would put.
They're in front of Arizona.
Yeah, no shit. They're fronting the Saints. They're front of the Raiders. This is a division winner right now, like as it stands. And it's pretty obvious. So I might.
I think I might be ready to move them in front of Cincinnati.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. I didn't want to say it too quick, but I'm glad we're with that. Yeah. I mean, shit, they've been one of the most proven teams so far in the NFL, and it's not like they've had an easy schedule. You know, they've been beating good teams. So, yeah, I like Jacksonville at, what is that, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, sweet.
Saints got to come down.
Yeah.
Saints are struggling.
Mm-hmm. So the Lions, I guess if we're moving down the Raiders and the Saints, I like the Lions to move up in that second tier. Yeah. Well,
yeah. The problem with Detroit right now, the thing that worries me is that they, as a roster, as a coaching staff, as a roster, they aren't used to winning. Not one player on that roster right now is relatively used to winning. And because of that, they can't finish these games. Like, they're getting up in game, they're getting these leads, and they're having trouble holding on to them. Like this game against Minnesota, that's a game that Minnesota usually blows when they're in the league. Now Minnesota's the one that's coming and finishing the job. That's my, obviously, to say that Detroit has high expectations, probably not true. But if you want to be one of these teams that's up in this high second tier, low first tier, like, you've got to be able to finish those types of games, and they're just too young, too inexperienced to be doing that for me to feel confident in them doing that moving forward.
But are they better than the Raiders and the Saints?
Nobody. They're better than the Raiders. I don't know about them better than the Saints but the Saints have been
putrid
recently.
Like, yes. And Jared Goff is playing really good football. Don't look now, but Jared Goff is playing really good football right now.
They're 1-2. And their one win was against Atlanta when they were losing by 20-plus points at one point. I'm worried about New Orleans.
So
defense hasn't looked as good as we thought, and the Jameis experiment doesn't look great right now.
Do you think after the performance that the Cowboys put on last night, do you think that they belong in that second tier, at the bottom of that second tier? Because I think they do. Personally, I mean, they beat the Giants, who were undefeated going into last night.
The bottom of the second tier is a little. They are 2-1. I don't know if they're better than Detroit, though.
Well,
the defense has looked fantastic, and it's far exceeded every expectation that I've had their defense could be. I think, and this might be, dude, Micah Parsons might be the best player.
Ooh, no more T.J. Watt, huh?
I'm not even kidding. Micah Parsons might be the best player in football. He is absolutely insane. I believe he's got 18 sacks through his first 16 career games played, or the other way around, but it is the most ever through that amount of games. Like through their first however many games. He's insane, man. And DeMarcus Lawrence looked awesome.
Trayvon Diggs, he should have had 3 picks last night, but he only had 1. I mean, he's looking a lot better in coverage.
Yeah, and I know Evan, they're lining up against a rookie in Evan Neal, but
Cooper Kush,
I don't know,
can keep this team afloat. He can keep this team afloat. He can win games for this team that should be winnable games.
Not something I expected.
Like, he will win the winnable games, there's going to be a lot of winnable games for the Cowboys in the NFC.
And that's what you need to do. That's what you need as a backup quarterback. You just need to not lose the game. Because no one's expecting you to go out there and beat good teams. You just need to not lose the game. I think Dallas is fairly...
Real quick, do we Denver in front of San Fran because they did just beat them last night? Or on Sunday night?
I guess.
And they are 2-1.
I don't feel great about it, but San Fran, they've got their own issues right now. So if we're moving Dallas out of the bottom tier, and are we moving Tennessee out of the bottom tier too?
Yeah, probably. And then we got to go. Oh, who's falling into that bottom tier now?
I was about to say. So the problem is we have to move 2 teams down there.
I think. If we're what? I think the Falcons have more of a case making it out of that bottom tier than the Titans. They played the first 2 games of the year. They played so close against good talent, and then. I mean, that Saints team, they shouldn't have been close to, before the season started. And then they played the Super Bowl champs down to the wire at their house. And then they won the game against Seattle at Seattle this week, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, I mean, that easily makes them out of the bottom tier. And I'd put the Falcons.
Okay, so if we're moving those, we have to move 3 teams back in. So that means one of Tennessee, Vegas, the Giants, the Commanders. One of those teams got to move into the bottom tier.
Dude, the Steelers? I mean, come on now.
I was about to say the Steelers. The Steelers might. I'm gonna put them at the top of the tier, but I don't trust anything with this team right now. I don't.
With Mac being out for several weeks, I think maybe the Patriots are the most eligible team to move down.
That's true. So I'm cool with moving both of them down. One more team back down. That's why I'm saying, dude, Vegas.
Dude,
I'm worried.
The Cardinals suck. I've bought in now.
The Cardinals suck, but I think you can't have Kyler Murray and be one of the 8 worst teams in the league. Like, you can't have a healthy Kyler Murray and be that bad. I think we could move them down into tier 3. Do we want to move the Browns up?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously our defense isn't what it should be, but dude, the Browns look good.
I would put football. And I mean, outside of Jacoby Brissett, that team is built like a Super Bowl team. Like, once Deshaun Watson comes back, that's an easy playoff.
Well, and I was about to say that's the thing. We've got about 8 games left of Jacoby Brissett, and then you're getting what we remember to be an elite quarterback.
Right, and Jacoby has played well so far this year, and he has played well in his career at times, you know? Like, I mean, this is a guy who came from I mean, this was supposed to be like the next great quarterback from the Belichick tree. I mean, it was supposed to be Brady, Garoppolo, and then Brissett. Those were supposed to be like 3 starting quarterbacks in the league. Mm-hmm. But I would put the Browns in front of the Saints, dude. What do you think? Top of that second and third tier.
I've moved the Saints down, and so what I've got right now, I've got the Lions at 15, the Browns at 16. Then I got Dallas at 17.
I can get with that.
Arizona at 18.
I like, because I had the boys in front of the Browns at first, but I can get with that. So then you have the Cowboys, and then who follows the Cowboys? The Cards.
Yeah, and then New Orleans after the Cards.
And then okay, what teams are we gonna move up out of this tier? I don't know if the Colts got to come. They just beat the Chiefs. I mean, I'm still putting them at the bottom of tier 3 though, for sure.
I mean, are we putting the Giants in front of the Colts?
Yeah, you're right. Let's put the Falcons and the Colts in front of the Giants and the Commanders. I think that looks good.
I'm putting the Colts in front of the Falcons.
Oh, why?
Dude. They just beat Kansas City.
I know,
like they won.
There was 2 weeks of football before that. It looked horrendous. One of them, they didn't have all their guys, which is fair. But I think the Falcons have looked really good. And for the Falcons have looked good in every single game that they played. The Colts have only looked good in one game so far this year, at home, their first home game. No adversity whatsoever. Like,
preseason expectations are playing a role right now because we did have Indy as a top 12 team in our top.
Yeah, but then we did
14,
move them
13.
Into the bottom tier at 25 just this past week. So,
well, the thing is, the reason why we did that is because they got shut out against Jacksonville, who we thought was terrible. Now we have Jacksonville at 11.
Okay. Okay, I'll appease you and put the Colts in front of the Falcons, but I don't like it.
And I've got the Raiders below the Falcons and the Colts.
I'm with that. Below the Giants probably.
And then
as they are. So the Giants
after
were
Vegas,
undefeated going into last night. I'd probably put the Raiders behind the Giants too. Just based on what's happened this year.
I guess. The problem is, Sterling Shepard is like the only person on that team that can separate if Kadarius Toney can't play.
Wan'Dale?
Which seemingly he never seemed to be on the field. Wan'Dale wasn't on the field last night either.
Yeah, he's hurt too. But he's less hurt than a torn ACL. So I mean, if Wandell can play,
Yeah,
and then Kadarius, if he can get healthy, like I mean, he was a late.
I mean, we all know how great he is, right?
He was the last minute scratch last night, but I think the Bears can move themselves out of the toilet bowl, I guess. The Texans maybe take that spot.
Yeah, I was about to say I moved the Bears in front of Houston.
I think the Steelers are,
and then I think I'm going to move Carolina. Carolina's going to jump Seattle and New York.
I like that.
I don't think I know that on your screen. I don't think the Steelers and Patriots should be that low. I think the Steelers should probably be at like the top of that tier, and then New England right behind them.
I like the Titans better than the Steelers.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I'm saying, dude, it's rough because I don't think the Titans deserve to be in the bottom tier now that they've won a game about Tennessee moving forward.
I think we got to see it another week.
They've shown they can.
It's been so bad. I think we've got to see it.
Then why? Okay, why does Tennessee get to be in the top, in the third tier, and Vegas? Why does Tennessee have to be in the bottom, but Vegas isn't?
Because Vegas has a far superior roster with a lot more preseason expectations.
Do they? Listen. Do they? They have Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfro's in concussion protocol. I know that's not extremely long term, but offensive line is probably worse than Tennessee's. Their defensive line can't really stop the run. I know they've got Max Crosby and Chandler Jones. They've got no corners. They've got Moreg. They've got no other safety. Their linebackers are terrible. And whatever's supposed to be working with Derek Carr, like that was the reason why we had them high, was this Derek Carr, Devontae Adams connection. And I mean, it's there, but it's not like, knock your socks off. Great. Like we thought it was going to be, which is why we had them so high, was because we thought it was going to be fantastic.
Like going into the year, if you were to tell me that they would lose to start the year, that they would lose to the Chargers, the Cardinals, and then the Titans, if you would have told me that last year during the playoffs, I would have been like, damn, that's a hell of a way to start the year. Fuck. Like, that's a rough schedule. Like, I mean, this is an 0-3 team because they're an AFC West team, in my opinion. Like, I mean, they're just at the mercy.
They just lost to Tennessee.
Tennessee, that was the number one seed in the AFC last year. I mean, obviously it was a fluke, but...
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I don't like Tennessee either, but dude, Vegas is a problem. Also, you've got the Commanders
at the bottom
behind the Giants. So you've got the Commanders at 20. So yeah, what I have in front of me is I've got Tennessee in front of Washington, and then I'm just essentially flip-flopping Vegas and then so
I was going to put
Vegas in the yeah. I've got it a little out of order just because I've been moving stuff whenever you move stuff. So then when you say something, I'll just move it to wherever, and you've done the same.
Right. I kind of so the third tier we got, so starting at 16, 17 is the Cowboys, 18 is the Cardinals, 19 is the Saints, 20 is the Colts, 21 is the Falcons, 22 is the Giants, 23 is the Raiders, 24 is the Titans. And then we have the bottom tier, 25 Commanders, 26 Panthers, 27 Jets, 28 Steelers, 29 Seahawks, 30. Yeah, we need to mess around.
I think the Steelers.
Yeah, we need to mess around with that.
So what I've got in my bottom tier,
I do think that I don't want to get into a fight about this, but I do think that the Commanders are better than the Steelers as it sits today.
So I've got in my bottom tier, I've got Vegas, Pittsburgh, New England, Carolina, Seattle, New York, Chicago, Houston.
Wait. So which guy is in my bottom tier that you don't have?
I don't have the Commanders in my bottom tier. The Commanders are 24. I put Vegas in the first team in the bottom tier, and then the Commanders are in the third tier. Yeah, I really putting you in a tough spot here, because now you got to stick to your guns, or you got to move the Commanders into the bottom tier.
Okay, so I just moved the Titans in front of the Raiders. I'll appease you there. Dude, I'm going to keep it. I really do think that the Raiders Yeah.
So you want Washington?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna put Washington bottom tier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
if
So
we
then
can't win
Pittsburgh.
if we can't win our division games or at least can be competitive in the fucking NFC East, fuck it. I mean, Jesus Christ. Anyway,
I've got New England in front of Carolina, Seattle, and New York.
I'd put New England in front of New York and Seattle.
Finally.
We've always said that this Panthers
I
roster has been built really good outside of the quarterback position. If Baker can get more adjusted to the offense, and I mean they did just come away with their first win at home against a team that they shouldn't have beat, according to us. So yeah, I like the Pats better, and also their quarterback's not injured. So.
Do you want to put the Jets in front of Seattle? That's the only other thing. Because the offense...
I've got Jets in front of Seattle. I've got the Jets in front of Seattle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because on mine they were.
I do think that
because the playmakers are starting to like Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson looks like a hit, man. I know it's kind of hard to say that this early, but Garrett
Joe
Wilson
Flacco looks like he can run an NFL offense still, surprisingly.
So
anything that we want to do with the bottom three teams, would we put the Bears ahead of the Seahawks? Maybe I wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean I cannot believe that they're 2-1. Yeah. So to the Bears fans that listen to the show,
there's a lot of them.
Congratulations,
there's a lot of them,
guys. You're gonna hate yourself come April when you've got one more win than Houston. Maybe you miss out on Will Anderson because you decided to beat the 49ers in Mud Bowl. But
I'm good with it, man. I like it.
Yeah,
I like this list.
I think I'm gonna stick with this. I'll put this out on the Instagram tomorrow.
Sweet. For all you listeners at home, let me do a quick recap. Go down the list. So we got the Bills at 1 still, the Chiefs at 2 still, and then we've got the Eagles at 3, Dolphins at 4, Ravens at 5, Packers at 6, Bucks at 7, Rams at 8, Chargers at 9, Vikings at 10. And then those are the top 10 teams right there. And then following that, we have the Jags, the Bengals, the Broncos, in this order, by the way, the Niners, the Lions, the Browns, the Cowboys, the Cardinals, the Saints, the Colts, the Falcons, the Giants, the Titans, the Raiders, and the Commanders, Steelers, Panthers, Patriots, Jets, Seahawks, Bears, and Texans. Fuck yeah, man. Solid week 4 power rankings as we head into it and move along. So I like that, man. Hell yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I have to take a restroom break, a piss break. So would you want to
you and these restroom breaks?
I want you to show off your comedic talents. By the way, when I was editing the last podcast, I noticed that you did not, in fact, tell a joke. So when I go to check that, when I edit this podcast, I'm going to be pissed if you don't tell a banger of a joke right here. So tell a joke, and I'll be back.
Man. So, what's the deal with football? It's on Sundays. I don't know. I'm not a setup joke man. I'm like a I'm like a Jim Halpert sarcastic joke, like adding on, making jokes about events. I'm not a stand-up comedian type of jokester. I just make funny comments on things that are around me. So this is kind of... I wish there was like another person here so I could get them to... Dude, that was a fast restroom break. Everybody laugh.
To get to the other side.
I told it. Yeah.
Nice, man. Fuck yeah. Okay. We had one viewer hop off while I was gone, so obviously your joke tanked.
That That hurts, man.
All right. Well, that's not exactly our specialty here on the Blitz Pod, but we've got something that is a specialty for one of the members of the Blitz Pod, and that is injuries. As I am not kidding here, and I don't mean to scare anybody, but Mitchell was apparently elbows deep in a dead body today. So if anybody knows anything about the human body and its injury likelihood, it's going to be Mitchell McDonald. So without further ado, I reintroduce the segment, Mitch's Injury Report. Nah. Love that shit. Okay. So, to start off the injury report, we have Dalvin Cook, who left the game on Sunday. Mitch says that it is yet another shoulder dislocation and labral tear. Third time doing the exact same thing. That does not sound good. Will wear a harness to keep the shoulder in place. I wonder why they just don't permanently keep him in the sling. Phew, that is not sounding good from Mitch. If Alexander Mattison, or if Dalvin Cook does end up missing time, Alexander Mattison is a must pick up in fantasy. Dave Montgomery, next guy on the list. He has some ankle issues according to Mitch, as described by Eberflus. Described as day-to-day, likely low-grade ankle sprain. He says to check the practice status to monitor if he will even be active. Likely to see decreased workload if active to help him rest, plus Herbert's huge week in his absence. Next guy we got is a guy we talked about a little bit before the podcast, and that was DeAndre Swift. He has a shoulder sprain with an already lingering ankle injury. Mitch says Campbell seems to want to keep Swift sidelined to rehab both injuries and bring him back to health. Jamal Williams had a huge game in his absence. And then the last guy we got is Mac Jones, who was seen screaming as he entered the tunnel, which was kind of tough to watch. And then there was like the freeze frame of his facial expression. Yeah, it was tough shit. But Mitch says that it's a bad high ankle sprain, said to potentially need surgery. Typically a 4 to 6 week recovery for normal cases, but max severity could lead to a 6-month recovery before being truly healthy. Ew. If he forces himself back onto the field this season, expect him to be restrained to the pocket and having difficulties pushing off the foot. Then he puts in asterisks, ligament holding tibia and fibula together before ankle. So yeah, that is Mitch's injury report. Internet. Really need to get a drop for that. But let's dive into studs and duds, which is also another segment that we've been doing every week to recap. This is just a segment where we say the fantasy studs from this week and the fantasy duds from this week. So, and we'll talk a little bit about what we should do with those fantasy studs and duds. So, to lead off, we have Lamar Jackson putting up another 40 fucking points this week. That is his second consecutive 40-point game and his third consecutive 20-point game. Lamar Jackson is probably my QB1 going forward in fantasy. What about you?
Yeah, I'm probably right there with you. It's really hard to, deny like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. I think it's those three and everybody else. I think Patrick Mahomes is kind of sitting in a tier by himself at like that 4 spot, and then everybody else. But it's those three at the top for sure.
I mean, 2 40-point games in a row from a quarterback. That's awesome. Then we got Jalen Hurts coming in at 28 points against a terrible Washington Commanders secondary. He scored basically all those 28 points in the first half. Could have scored 60 points if they wanted him to. And then Khalil Herbert, he scored 31 points in David Montgomery's absence. Derrick Henry finally made it out of the doghouse as he scores 25 points to start his year. Jamal Williams, like I said, had a big day in substitution for DeAndre Swift. But before we hop into Jamal Williams, where are you putting Derrick Henry now that he's finally had his good week?
I think he's back into like the top 8-ish, just because there's been a lot of other guys like Kamara has disappointed so far this season. Najee's disappointed so far this season. Swift's now banged up.
Connor.
So a lot of those guys falling down is kind of keeping Henry stable, 9 or 10, and now he's just kind of moving in front of like a Dalvin Cook and a DeAndre Swift who might be missing time moving forward.
Yeah, like my thoughts on Henry. I mean, I mentioned it last week. Once a game strip was a huge reason why he hasn't been seeing the work so far. They managed to keep the lead basically the entire game against the Raiders. So Derrick Henry was able to dominate as game script was in his favor. So the Titans can win football games, and Derrick Henry should be good. But that is the question. Like I said, Jamal Williams with 25 points in DeAndre Swift's absence. Somebody I do want to talk about a little bit, Devin Singletary putting up 24 points. Really providing a lot of help in the pass game on Sunday in that loss to Miami. I'm not buying into Devin Singletary at all. Zero. At all. I hate people that say Devin Singletary, he's the number one now, though. He's the number one. He has had the opportunity. He has been technically, he's been the number one for 3 years now in Buffalo. And it's absolutely absurd that a team as good as Buffalo, most regular folk don't know who the running back is for the Buffalo Bills. Because he sucks. Like, they haven't had a running back. Like, he is not...
That's why everybody was so excited for James Cook, was because there's just been so much uncertainty and unflashiness, I guess, about this running back room, and everybody was hoping that James Cook would be able to walk in and just win the job immediately. That just hasn't happened.
It will happen, in my opinion. Like, it will happen this year. He did get a lot of run in week 2, not so much work in week 3. Devin Singletary's helped a lot by just his passing, like, his work in the passing game helped him out a lot, which he hasn't done a lot so far this year. I mean, in a game that you're losing and you can't seem to get it to your wide receivers, what are you going to do? You're going to check the ball down. There's literally nobody fucking covering him. That's the point of a check down. Like, I don't buy into Devin Singletary. He's not it, dude. He's not. As we move on, Devontae Smith scores 33 points as he has his first breakout game of the year. Matt Collins scores 32 points, his second week with double-digit fantasy points for the Raiders. Do you think this is something that we can rely on? Personally, I don't think so. I thought about this a little bit. They do have a lot of weapons in Vegas that are going to take away from a guy like Matt Collins, who we've never heard of before, but they don't really have anybody to open the field, And if Matt Collins is going to be that guy that opens the field, then he's probably going to be productive, right?
I can't seem to figure out why Will Fuller is still a free agent when there are so many teams that need that.
Dude. Oh my God, Will Fuller would make so much sense.
Will Fuller can be that guy. Will Fuller in Vegas is such a fit, and that would probably make them one of the biggest, one of the best room of weapons in the league with Fuller, Renfro, Devontae Adams, and Darren Waller. I mean, there's no reason for Derek Carr not to produce in that setting.
Yeah, for sure. We got to see.
And the Raiders need, obviously, at 0-3, they need to make a move. So
no shit. We'll see how it plays out. Raiders offense still leveling out, honestly. But Matt Collins putting together 2 solid fantasy performances. Another guy with his breakout game this week after stinking it up the first 2. Hollywood Brown puts up 28 points in the Cardinals' loss. He seems to finally be the number 1 guy as long as D-Hop is out. Chris Olave had a breakout game with 25 points, which is awesome to see. And out of the insistence of Tyler, Zay Jones did score 25 points this week for the Jacksonville Jaguars. There's a lot. I don't have faith in Zay Jones going forward. There's a lot more viable options in Jacksonville, in my opinion. Mark Andrews scores 29 points. Are you still going Kelsey, number 1 tight end overall, or are we thinking it's more Andrews now?
Andrews looks good. I'd see that for. I think it's going to be a week-by-week thing. I think next week you could see Kelsey score 25, Andrews scores like 11, and then we're right back to the same conversation. But breaking news, Bills signing cornerback Xavier Rhodes off of free agency. They obviously need a lot of corner help right now. Christian Benford is now banged up, who was their 6th-round rookie starting at B2 because of Tre'Davious White and Dane Jackson and Tayron, their entire secondary really being banged up. So Xavier Rhodes kind of a big signing in Buffalo.
Yeah, for sure, and a name that's been around for a while, veteran presence to add on top of guys that you already have that have a lot of veteran presence, like Stephon Gilmore, Kenny Moore is now that veteran presence. So, wait, what am I fucking talking about? I thought you were importing him on the Colts secondary for some fucking reason. Couldn't tell you why. Oh, the colors. You know what? It was the color blue. That's what made me think of it. But yeah, you throw him aside, Kyer Elam, and the other practice squad players that they have on the corner in the secondary right now for Buffalo, because it's not good. It's the only guy I know is Kyer Elam personally, and then Tre'Davious White when he gets healthy, but it's not good.
It's rough.
Yeah, but all right. Let's move on to the duds from the Studs and Duds segments. The guys that really disappointed and laid an egg in fantasy this week. Kyler Murray scored 12 points. Matthew Stafford scored 10 points, which is a stinker. Russell Wilson scored 9 points, which is another dud performance for Russell Wilson. I don't think... He is a bottom 10 quarterback as far as fantasy goes, in my opinion. Rest of season.
Bottom 10? Come on, man.
Like bottom of the top 10. Like bottom of the top 10. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
know.
Bottom 10.
Yeah, the
way a little unfair.
But I don't know if basically what I'm saying is, because in a 10-team league, he's a fringe starter. I'm playing the matchup based on Russell Wilson.
But to be honest with you, that's where he was drafted at. I mean, he was pretty much around 8 to 10 in most drafts. And obviously he's not eclipsed that ADP whatsoever. But
guys going in that range though, like Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott,
I don't even think he got
those guys you feel comfortable.
I don't even think he got drafted in our league.
Yeah, he did not. But like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, in usual leagues, these are the guys that were going around. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott.
Brady might be the one that you're worried about here, dude. Brady has not looked good.
And Russell, actually, if there's any signs of optimism from Russ, it's that he did take off and run the ball a couple times on Monday night or on Sunday night, which was encouraging. But yeah, I mean, it hasn't been a good start to the year for Russell Wilson. And then I put Carson Wentz in there as well with a dud of 7 points. He had a really hot start to the year, one of the best fantasy quarterbacks. Did not live up to that against his former team. Then we move on to the running backs. James Conner with another 9-point dud performance. His second consecutive game with less than 10 points. I was a huge believer in James Conner headed into the year. See, the thing is, James Conner, like, his touchdown production could save his entire season. Like, I mean, he could go off on a stretch where he scores 2 goal line touchdowns per week for like 3 weeks, and it absolutely puts him right back on track. That's the encouraging sign about James Conner. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the thing was, obviously, and this was his big criticism in draft season, was the touchdowns that he got last year were the predominant reason for him being such a productive player last year. But I don't know. I don't really trust a whole lot in Arizona right now. And especially if he's going to be banged up, I don't know how much I trust him even when he is healthy.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, if the passing game isn't working, which it seems like it hasn't been working too well in Arizona, then they will resort more to that running game. And James Conner, they paid him. I mean, that fact does not change. So I still like James Conner. Honestly, I like James Conner better going forward than this guy who also had a dud of a week. And that was Javonte Williams. 9 points. Second consecutive week with less than 10 points. I mean, with a guy like Javonte Williams, you expected this to start the season kind of. I mean, it's kind of worse than what we thought it was going to be. But there's still that hope that by halfway through the season he takes the job. Yeah,
it's fairly apparent that he is more talented than Melvin Gordon, and we this time last year, we're okay. Is it Javonte Williams' time to take the job? Is it about to be a 70-30 split or whatever? Um, it doesn't seem to be happening. What is going on in Denver? You even have a new coaching staff come in, and it's the same thought process. Maybe that's what carried over from Green Bay. Obviously, A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones were pretty much splitting touches for most of Nathaniel Hackett's tenure in Green Bay. So maybe that's a philosophy that just he carried with him to Denver. Um, but yeah, we're gonna wait on the day. Whether it's Melvin Gordon getting hurt, obviously we don't wish that on anybody. But if that were to happen, then I think Javonte Williams would take this job over, and it would be no looking back, because once he has it, I don't think it would ever go back to Melvin Gordon. But I don't know, man. It seems to be a pretty even split for right now.
Which is bad news for Javonte Williams owners. But unlike a James Conner, like, he's going to get the same work all year. Like, there's still that hope for Javonte that he could break out and be one of the best running backs in fantasy. DeAndre Swift, he was banged up in this one, so it's kind of not fair, but he scores 8 points. Joe Mixon also banged up. He scored 7 points. And then another big name, Alvin Kamara, who I just managed to deal off in Duck League. He scored 6 points this week. He has 0 games, and he didn't play week 2, but he has no games so far above 8 points. That's not good. And I mentioned a lot going into last year how I didn't like Alvin Kamara. I liked him a lot better this year just because, he did have a more shitty year last year, so, the value leveled out. But, I mean, the argument was, James Winston isn't a a check down quarterback. Drew Brees was Mr. Check Down, and Alvin Kamara was always there for that. But James doesn't seem to want to check the ball down, and Alvin Kamara is not benefiting.
That's never been his game, to check the ball down. That's just not who Jameis is.
Right.
And whether that be for good or bad, at least for New Orleans, it's definitely bad for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, for sure. Going forward, I'm probably putting Kamara still top 20 back for sure, but it's top 20 back pretty solidified right now because he is Alvin Kamara. He's one of the best running backs in the league talent-wise. Aaron Jones comes in with 5 points, but you're going to get those duds from Aaron Jones. I'm not concerned there. Dude, your boy, Darrell Henderson, you were ready to write off Cam Akers completely this past week. Didn't even have him in your top 35. Darrell Henderson was pretty high up there, and he comes in with 2 points this week. So it does seem to be a timeshare in LA after all, I guess, right?
Yeah, seems that way.
Yeah, I didn't mean to shit on your take as much as I just did.
No.
But it's such a weird situation in LA. Darrell Henderson seemed to be the clear-cut guy. The Cam Akers owners were flying around. The whole office was burning, like that meme. But now he had a good, solid week this past week, 60 yards and a tud. So it seems like Cam Akers is still involved after all. All right, as we move on to the wide receivers who had some dud weeks this week. A lot of fucking duds this week, dude. A lot of people lost their fantasy matchups because of these guys. And one of these guys I especially lost because of, and that is Gabe Davis, who scored only 7 points in returning to injury. Do you have any concern for Gabe Davis? Because I still think that he's a potentially top 15, top 20 guy going forward. Potentially top 15. Because I'm still on that train. I'm still on that train that says Stephon and Gabe Davis could be both top 10 finishers potentially. I still believe in that because it is Josh Allen, So, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I don't know about him moving forward. It's a little bit of a weird situation just because he is a wide receiver too, and we haven't seen it consistent because we all bought in on the end of the year last year. Obviously, the 4 touchdown. What do you think his ADP is if he doesn't score 4 touchdowns in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, it's a whole 3 rounds later, but he's still getting drafted because he's the new number 2 in Buffalo.
Yeah. It's just kind of crazy to me how how much that one game did affect his fantasy stock. And if you're going to have a game to affect your fantasy stock, you better do it in the last game of the season. So then that way everybody can roll on it.
Exactly. And then like for the coming year, hold on to that expectation until like halfway through the season. But yeah, I personally still in on Gabe Davis. He was a game time decision going into that game against Miami. So maybe it was just a little bit of him holding back. Tyreek Hill comes up with a stinker at 5 points. We mentioned last week together that when I said that Waddle might finish better than Tyreek, you said that Waddle will definitely put up more consistent numbers, and that's exactly what we saw on Sunday with Tyreek putting up 5 and Waddle putting around 15 up, 19, something like that. Rashad Bateman puts up 5 points. Devin Duvernay kind of had a breakout game. Nice touchdown score. Justin Jefferson scores another stinker of 4 points. That's 2 weeks in a row after having a baller of a week 1. What's the matter?
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to keep him in that like Cooper Kupp level tier yet, just because Cooper Kupp doesn't have these games. Like since Matt Stafford has been the quarterback, I don't think he scored less than 10. Which just Jefferson has now done twice in 3 games, and I know that he was supposed to get that Cooper Kupp role, but I don't know, man. There's something wrong with Justin. If he's not getting, he obviously saw it. It was magnified because it was Monday Night Football primetime game. Every time Kirk Cousins was like in the midst of getting pressured, he just found Justin Jefferson. Like it was literally, fuck it, Justin's over there somewhere. Like, and that almost led to 5 interceptions. So maybe Kevin O'Connell was like, hey, let's chill that out because you almost gave the ball to the other team 5 different times. I felt like I saw a lot of Adam Thielen involved on Sunday. Like, I mean, I was checking the game through Red Zone, but dude, it felt like Adam Thielen was getting these first downs.
I was a big fan of him in fantasy, and I would trade for Adam Thielen if you can. If anybody's like still on, because Adam Thielen will forever be hated on. Like he's a worse version of Keenan. Because Keenan's been around for so long that it's just boring. Like, Thielen's been around for so long that it's literally, like, boring. But Kirk Cousins, man, no offense, he does love his Caucasian wide receivers. So, as long as Adam Thielen's wearing a Vikings jersey, he will catch passes.
The other thing is with Jefferson is week 1, he was being guarded, but, like, there are multiple snaps where Preston Smith, who is an edge rusher, was guarding Justin Jefferson in the slot. That should never, like, that's something that happens in Madden, and you're like, oh God, why is this happening? And, like, Green Bay defensive coordinator sent him out there with the intention of doing that, which is insanity. Starting to guard him with corners, and obviously he's getting double coverage in there as well. Maybe this is kind of more so what we're going to see with Justin Jefferson moving forward.
I hope 4 points is not what we see more moving forward. But boom bust, that could definitely be. I mean, maybe he goes from being like one of the best receivers in the NFL to being a boom bust guy like Tyler Lockett or Tyreek Hill, etc. You know? So, who knows? Maybe he's just pure. Not that he's the same like play type of those receivers, obviously, but like being a boom bust material receiver, which Justin Jefferson was kind of known for, but not really. More consistent. All right, as we round out the list, Brandon Cooks put up 4 points. Sucks. Jerry Jeudy put up 4 points. Courtland Sutton seems to be the guy in Denver that you would want to keep, right? I mean, the Denver wide receiver you want to have.
Yeah, Judy seems kind of shaky. I mean, and you're not investing anything in KJ Hamler unless you're like in a deep league. So yeah, it's Sutton and Bales right now.
DJ Moore, 3 points. I mean, what do you do if you have DJ Moore in your roster? Don't drop him. Like, you can just only and you can't trade shit for him. So unless there's somebody on the waiver wire that like shouldn't be there, like a DJ Moore, like I would consider dropping if
I don't
really
think
somebody that you want.
I don't think you're dropping now. I don't think you're dropping DJ Moore. You're probably kind of pissed.
How long did you wait to drop Allen Robinson last year? Like forever.
I think it was 6 to 7 weeks.
Yeah.
6 to 7 weeks.
So we're just gonna wait another 3 weeks just to like see DJ Moore is a matter
Because
of fact.
I don't think Allen Robinson scored over 10 points at any point last year. Whereas DJ Moore, he's got a week. He's had, I think, 13 in week 2. He had like 8 in week 1. But two stinks. 2 is not good. Can't start on any team scoring 2 points.
No.
So yeah,
it's I don't know what you do. I mean, you just kind of have to cross your fingers and pray, basically.
Yeah.
Last to round out the list, the tight ends that stunk this week. George Kittle put up 7 points. Darren Waller put up 5 points. So that rounds out the studs and duds segment. And now we did before. We were doing buy or sell on storylines from the week before, and then we were doing key takeaways, one takeaway from each of us for the rest of the season. But we're kind of just going to mix that up into one segment now. So we'll dive into key takeaways where we will share 1 or 2 thoughts from each of us for just general takeaways from the week, and then 1 rest of season takeaway for the both of us, and just some general stuff to talk about. But yeah, let's hop into the key takeaway segment. And to start this segment off, we will start with some of the week 3 losers, man. So Tyler proposed in the chat that what 2-1 team has the most to prove this coming week after this past week. And I kind of remixed that question a little bit and just did some of the major teams that lost this week. Which of those teams has the most to prove? All of these teams on the list, and for those listening, it is the Chiefs, who are sitting at 2-1, the Bills, who are sitting at 2-1, the Chargers, Saints, 49ers, and Cardinals, who are all sitting at 1-2, and then the Raiders, who are sitting at 0-3. So which team with a loss in week 3 has the most to prove this coming week? Their matchups this week for each one: Chiefs are playing the Bucks, Bills are playing the Ravens, Chargers are playing the Texans, Saints are playing the Vikings, 49ers are playing the Rams, Cardinals are playing the Panthers, and the Raiders are playing the Broncos. What you got, man?
As far as like, I think it's probably New Orleans, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it was a missed field goal away from being 0-3.
The Bucks are also on this list.
Obviously,
I
Vegas
excluded
is
the
in
Bucks
there
for some reason. They are 2-1 with a week 3 loss.
Yeah. Man. Actually, for me, it's going to be San Francisco. You've got Jimmy G back. This is a divisional game against the reigning Super Bowl champions who beat you, who basically prevented you from going to the Super Bowl and potentially getting a Super Bowl ring. And you're 1-2 when you don't have the uncertainty of Trey Lance anymore. You have the steadiness that is Jimmy Garoppolo. You just laid a fucking egg on Sunday Night Football in a game that no one wants to watch again. That probably has 0 replay on NFL Plus, Platinum, Premium, whatever the fuck that they're charging like $40 a month for, where you can't even watch out-of-market games. But yeah, probably San Francisco that needs to prove the most this week, because if they fall to 1-3, dude.
I'd even
worrisome.
And I'd even add on to that. First of all, they were a playoff team last year. I mean, starting 1-3, that is not a good thing for a team that went to the playoffs last year. And they have Shanahan historically beats the fuck out of Sean McVay. They beat the fuck out of the Rams the past couple years. And
yeah,
I mean, if they want to prove that they're still the 49ers, they should beat up on the Rams. I mean, they have traditionally, so if they want to prove that they're still the same team from last year that made it to the playoffs with Jimmy G, then you have to beat the Rams. And they're playing at home. So, you know, there's really not a whole ton of excuses for the 49ers. For my team that has the most to prove going forward in week 4 after a loss in week 3, it's going to be the Chargers, dude. Like, it would have been one thing if Herbert didn't play. He did play. Obviously, it wasn't as effective. But he threw the most passes of any quarterback on Sunday. Why? Why is that the case? Like, if he's not healthy, then why is he throwing the ball almost 50 times? Like, there's no excuse for that. So if If he's not healthy, don't have him throw the ball 50 times. But if you're going to put him out there to throw that many times, then you should win the ball game. And you didn't. You lost to the Jags pretty handedly. This is a team I was talking about Brandon Staley possibly, and this is still a hot take, but I was talking about Brandon Staley before the year possibly being fired halfway through the season if this Chargers team cannot put it together. This is a Super Bowl ready team, and they started 1-2. Like this is the worst nightmare scenario for the Chargers, especially with Rashawn Slater out for the year now. I mean, it's
I think the fact that there are injuries, I think that's going to save Staley's job. It's really hard to fire the guy when Herbert's banged up and you miss Keenan Allen for weeks and your franchise left tackle is injured. So, yeah, it's not looked
But
great.
that's 3 years a leash. 3 years a leash on Brandon Staley.
2.
Oh, 2. Yeah, because he wasn't there for Herbert's rookie year. But dude, I don't know. I don't think that Brandon Staley was a good head coach. And I think a lot of this is on him. I do. And how is Eckler not effective so far this year? How do you not get him more involved? In a game where Justin Herbert's injured, I did see a lot of checkdowns. That's all you should be doing. Like different versions of a checkdown to Austin Eckler. And that wasn't it. It just was shitty football made by Brandon Staley. So, yeah, I think the Texans have the most to prove going into Houston, they beat the Chargers last year. And, yeah, they beat the Chargers last year, and they've played good so far this year up until a loss against Chicago. So, yeah, I think the Chargers have the most to prove going into Week 4. But Blake says he's all for that. So, sweet. Thanks, man. All right, let's move on from the Week 3 losers, and let's move on to this shitty graphic that I threw together in probably 2 minutes. And that is the MVP odds that are out right now. We are 3 weeks into the season, so it's only right that we start to talk about who's going to win MVP. And I looked today, and these are the odds that we have displayed before you, but I'll go ahead and list them off for our listeners. Josh Allen leads the way at plus 300 for MVP odds right now. Lamar Jackson comes in at plus 550. Patrick Mahomes comes in at plus 600 or plus 700, and then Jalen Hurts comes in at plus 700. And then Justin Herbert comes in at plus 1400. Tua Tagovailoa comes at plus 1600. So, I personally looking at this list, I'm smashing the hell out of Lamar Jackson plus 550 on the MVP.
Yeah, I'm doing the same, and I'm doing the same thing with Jalen Hurts. I'm gonna just bet both and hope one of them wins because they both, honestly, dude. With Josh Allen, he looked okay in Miami, but he didn't look 60 times, and they only scored 19 points. Jalen Hurts and Lamar both running extremely efficient offenses right now, so either one of those two are probably my favorites right now, especially with the Eagles being 3-0.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Mahomes has always got to be in that conversation just because it's Patrick Mahomes. He'll be in the top 5 all year unless he does something really terrible. Justin Herbert, I mean, with the rib injury, you could pretty much rule him out for MVP, in my opinion. I mean, I was hearing Hasselbeck talk about on yesterday's pod with Pat McAfee how he had the same rib cartilage injury that he had, and he was like, I did the same thing that Justin did. I had that rib fracture. It would bang me up the game before. I felt good enough to go out, and I regretted it because it fucked me up for the rest of the season. And I think that Justin Herbert doesn't play this week, and I think it's the beginning of the end for the Chargers, dude. And it shouldn't be that way because, like we were talking about with the Cowboys, you should have your backup quarterback hop in and just win you games that you should win. But this Chargers team is losing games with Justin Herbert that they should win in the fucking first place. So, yeah, I'm not picking Herbert to win MVP for sure. But I'm taking Lamar. That's definitely one I'm smashing. And, I mean, Jalen's probably a decent bet because of the conference he plays in, because of the division he plays in. He's going to look good all year up until he gets to the playoffs. So, is what it is. I'm just saying that because I hate Jalen Hurts, but it's a good bet, man. Lamar and Jalen Hurts, those are the guys you should target right now at plus 600 and plus 550, respectively. So, all right, let's move on from the MVP overview, and let's move on to some of the takeaways that we have just from the week in general. And I'll go ahead and lead us off. And what I've got is Trevor Lawrence, dude. He is finally a guy, man. This is a guy that was, I mean, we've talked about it. Everybody who knows football knows Trevor Lawrence was as good of a quarterback prospect as Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning, and that's the list. That is the list. Those are the best 3 quarterback prospects to come out in the past 20 years. He went 28 for 39, 262 yards, and 3 touchdowns against the Chargers. A Chargers secondary that has dramatically improved in the offseason. Not to mention Asante Samuel really looking fucking awesome, looking like the league's next shutdown corner. But he threw no picks, 3 touchdowns, and over 250 passing yards against a really solid Chargers defense. He finished 3rd for the week in passer rating overall, behind Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa, guys both drafted below him. But get this, man. That was his first 3 touchdown game since last year. In his debut game, his first NFL game ever, was the last time that he threw 3 touchdowns, and that was in a loss versus Houston.
Who did they play?
Yeah, in a loss versus Houston, and he threw 3 picks in that game. So this is the first time he's ever thrown for 3 touchdowns and not 3 interceptions. So then I decided to dive a little deeper because he is really having a better season than we all think he is. The past 2 weeks are the 2 highest passer ratings of his entire career so far. The past 2 weeks. He had a 121.5 passer rating against Indy, and then he had a 115.5 passer rating against the Chargers, as I already mentioned. Even deeper, among qualified quarterbacks with at least 100 pass attempts so far, there is 20 of them. He is one of 2 quarterbacks with only 1 pick and at least 5 touchdowns so far. Any guess at the other guy?
What was 100 passing attempts?
Yes, 100 passing attempts, only 1 INT, and at least 5 touchdowns. There's 2 people. One of them is Trevor Lawrence.
It's Mahomes, isn't it?
Yep, it's Mahomes.
Yeah.
That's pretty good company to be in early on in the year. And then he is one of 5 quarterbacks with a completion percentage greater than 69% among qualified quarterbacks with at least 100 pass attempts. For the season, he's 7th in adjusted QBR, 6th in passer rating, 6th in completion percentage above expectation, which is a next-gen stat. And that's it. He is fucking balling this year, dude. I think we finally have the Trevor Lawrence that has been promised to us. I was talking about it a lot before the year. I was huge on Trevor Lawrence coming in the year, so this makes me super excited. His career has finally started. Now, well, it started when Urban Meyer got fired more than halfway through the year. And now it's continuing into the next season, and he really is starting to look like that franchise guy that Jacksonville paid for. So that's my takeaway from this week. What you got, brother?
Oh, man. I don't need it. It was hard for me to have a takeaway from this week just because I wasn't able to watch a whole lot of football. I had to work and I had to do schoolwork and all that, dude. It was kind of rough, but man. I know. Hold on. I had one before we started.
Lake asked how those exams went.
I got an 86 on my accounting exam. My other 2 I'm still waiting to hear back on. My macro exam I did not feel very good about. The macro exam, I think did not go very well. There was a question where I literally just put, I don't know.
That's what I did for my AP test in AP psychology. The whole test was ready. I just wrote on the first page, I was like, Mr. Ranke is a fantastic teacher. This was not his fault, but I don't need this credit. So I'm not going to take this test. And that's what I wrote on my AP exam for psychology. Turned it in. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
College dude.
So, Lake says C's get degrees, man. C's get degrees. Can't lie. That's especially prevalent in accounting right now, dude, for the both of us, because me and Jade are getting absolutely railed. So,
shoot myself.
Give me your takeaway, man. Come on.
I mean, we could just really continue to talk about my test scores.
Wow, you motherfucker!
If we really wanted to.
Unprepared.
Now, okay,
ass.
so I think my takeaway is that New Orleans is in trouble. I said it when we were talking through the power rankings. I don't like the direction that this team's going in. Thing is really working. I mean, there was this throw that I saw Jameis Winston make where Marquez Callaway made a fantastic catch on it. Like, he literally grabbed it out of the air with one hand. That would make, like, why would anyone make that throw? Like, I wish we could just pull. I wish we had like a producer to just be like, and pull it up. But dude, he literally threw it into like 4 people from like the 10 line. Like, it was like, and it wasn't even like an accurate ball. There was no opening. There's no anything. But the Jameis Winston experiment, honestly,
that's all that worked for the New Orleans offense last year, was throwing it up for Marquez Callaway and hoping he comes down with it.
Yeah, and obviously Kamara is not getting it working right now. The offense, or the defense has not been as good as we thought. I know you had them, I think, as your second or first ranked defense coming into the year. Don't look very. I mean, they allowed 28 points to Atlanta. And then I think they allowed 22 this week to Carolina. I think one was a defensive touchdown. But
and James is turning the ball over.
The massacre.
James is turning the ball over.
Yeah, I was about to say the massacre that happened in Tampa with Jameis. My question is, do we think we see Andy Dalton?
Yeah, I think. I mean, if
how soon?
This team is too good for it not to be after next week. If he throws more than 2 picks, I think he's getting pulled in the middle of the game. We see Dalton until further notice. That's my call. Who are they playing this week? We just had it up. They are playing the Vikings.
The Vikings.
So I'm taking the Vikings in that game too. So I think Dalton starts afterwards.
I am too, dude. I do not feel good about what New Orleans is showing me so far this year. And this was a team we thought was going to compete with Tampa, and Tampa hasn't looked too sharp out of the gate either. But if they lose, if they drop like 1 or 2 more games, dude, the division might be wraps for them. I know that there's not a whole lot of like great wild card contenders in NFC right now. It just seems like the 4 division winners and like, Minnesota and San Francisco. But I don't see a world with the way that they're playing right now. I can't see a world where they make the playoffs.
Absolutely not. I mean,
not with Jameis Winston turning the ball over like this consistently week after week. It's the same problem.
We have to consider though, like,
obviously
NFC teams, like some of them like are gonna make the playoffs. Like some of them.
Somebody has to make the playoffs. Yeah. Well, you got to think. I mean, Dallas. I thought Dallas was dead on arrival. As soon as Dak got hurt, I thought their season was over, and Cooper Rush has kept them afloat, has won them 2 more games than Dak Prescott has this year. So they might still
Cooper
be
Rush
in the playoff
ain't no
picture.
Ben DiNucci, bro.
Hell, they're still
no Ben DiNucci.
Yeah, they're still in the division. They're still in the division picture. And then you've obviously got
especially with Dak possibly coming
yes.
back this week.
Yeah, you got San Francisco and LA, but this is the best receiving core that New Orleans has had in a long time. This is it's kind of hard to say that this is the best receiving core that Jameis has had, considering he played with Evans and Godwin, Tampa. But this is a talented group, and the fact that he's just not able, and I mean, Marquez Callaway is still making plays as a wide receiver 4. The fact that he's just not able to get anything going is troubling. It's very troubling. And I think we do see Dalton very soon.
Okay. All right. Just to be clear, that's your rest of the season takeaway, right? Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
All right. I will hop into my rest of season takeaway to round us out. And that is that Mike McDaniel is on a Coach of the Year campaign, and it's pretty clear cut right now. I mean, if the season ends today, Mike McDaniel hands down is the Coach of the Year. I mean, he ran the 49ers offense that got them to the playoffs last year, a team that should not have made the playoffs, and they made it to the NFC fucking championship. made Debo a player that he had not come close to being in his entire life. Made Jimmy G look a lot better than they gave credit for. I mean, he did amazing things with that 49ers offense last year, and the 49ers offense this year does not look nearly the same as it did with Mike McDaniel. Not nearly as effective, at least. So, obviously, Mike McDaniel had a lot to do with the success in San Fran that's no longer there. To start his coaching career, he beat Bill Belichick in his first ever game. Then he beat John Harbaugh. And then he beat Sean McDermott.
Who's 60, by the way. John Harbaugh is 60.
Yeah, I mean, we got a couple of coaching vets.
I can't remember if we discussed this on the pod. Yeah, we did do this Saturday night. I still can't get over that.
I know. It's like when Tom Cruise is 60 now.
Yeah.
Not crazy.
It's a damn good. That's a good look at 60-year-old man.
Hell yeah. Harbaugh's, man. I wonder how old Jim is. Yeah, I think he's older.
We'll throw a Google search together. I think he's like 6. I don't know why, but I'm getting 62.
Yeah, I think he's definitely older though.
He is
58.
He's
wow, I did not know that. That's fucking crazy. I read a book, or half of a book, about Michigan's football team in like
I read
2014,
half of a book.
And or no, it was earlier. It was after Harbaugh got hired. It was one of his first years, and they talked a shit ton about the Harbaugh family. I'm kind of embarrassed that I didn't know that Jim was younger, but anyway. That's a hell of a way to start your.
You only read half. The book. You would have figured out how old he was if you read the second.
Exactly, reinforcement.
Give you the benefit of the doubt.
But yeah, that's a hell of a way to start your coaching career by beating arguably 3 of the best coaches of our generation. Well, Belichick and Harbaugh are probably 2 of the best coaches of all time, and Sean McDermott is one of the best coaches of our generation. But yeah, that's a hell of a way to start your career. And the Miami offense so far. It's 8th in points per game, 4th in passing yards per game. That offense is fucking cooking against good defenses, dude. I mean, first game you played New England. They're 4th in yards per game allowed in 2021. So they were one of the best defenses last year. Baltimore, always a tough matchup on the defensive side. They've gotten better this year. And then Buffalo, they were 1st in yards per game allowed last year. So it's not like he's had easy matchups to start the year. So Mike McDaniel, if he continues this pace up, he's running away with Coach of the Year. It's not close. So that's my rest of season takeaway. To round us out for the week, we have our Thursday night football preview. We actually haven't done this in a minute. But yeah, we're just going to run through real quick what our thoughts are for this game. It is Miami at Cincinnati in Paul Brown. The spread right now is Cincinnati -4. It's crazy. A couple things to think about. Burrow was only sacked twice last week versus the Jets, which was our major concern after week 2. So after week 3, it's looking a little better. Tua is questionable for Thursday. He did come back into the game to finish out and beat Buffalo, but it obviously was a questionable call. There is an investigation ongoing about Tua's the handling of Tua in regards to the concussion protocol. There's a whole investigation going on right now. So if Tua doesn't play, Teddy Bridgewater would be the guy to play. And he went 0 for 2 with a sack in his short appearance for Tua while he was out on Sunday. So this is a hard one to bet right now because you don't know whether or not Tua is going to be healthy.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the reason why the spread is what it is. Do you have it? Who's at home?
Cincinnati. Yeah, I've got it. Yeah. Weird. Yeah. That's
Just
why it's versus.
Yeah,
that's why it's versus.
It's little,
not at.
Little
right.
things. But yeah, I think this line would shift a little bit if we knew Tua's status. Obviously,
Dolphins would be favored, in my opinion, if they knew that Tua was healthy.
I don't know if they'd be favored in Cincinnati.
-1 maybe.
But I do think it would. I was about to say it would pretty much be a money line type of pick. Man, this is a toughie. This is it's a game with a lot of storylines though, because obviously like a lot of people talk about Burrow and Herbert, but to the same class, and Tua was picked before Herbert. So there is, and Tua was actually like the whole tank for, it was supposed to be tank for Tua. It was never tank for
Right.
Burrow. Burrow just happened to ascend that year, and Miami wasn't good enough.
That's a great way. That's one way to put that he had the best college football season of all time. Ascend.
Yeah, he ascended to the number one pick, whatever. But really, it should have been Tua, right? But yeah, I think this is going to be a pretty good game. I'd be pretty disappointed if it isn't. Obviously, also you got the Tyreek Hill, Eli Apple narrative going on, where Tyreek Hill said, "I owe you, boy." I thought that was funny.
It's scary, bro. I could not imagine Eli. If I'm getting called out by the fastest receiver in the game, holy fuck! Jesus.
I could not imagine being like called out like that, and like you see your assignment is Tyreek Hill, and he's like coming for.
Did you see the clip of Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters talking about how they run, how Waddle and Tyreek run? Like they're like, I've seen it like 100 times now, I swear, but it's like they don't. It's so hard to guard. They were talking about how hard it is to guard like people who don't run normal, like Waddle and Tyreek, like. Because Tyreek runs like with his hands to his side, like kind of flinging them out, and they were like imitating it. And he's like like they were like imitating it, and he's literally like his shoulders are like boom, 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 like going down the field. And that's gonna be a tough matchup for Eli Apple, man. good fucking luck. And if you're not guarding Tyreek Hill, you're guarding Jalen Waddle. So
who's the closest thing in the NFL to Tyreek Hill right now?
Yes,
insane.
Precisely.
What Miami has put together.
I think, yeah, I'm gonna go the Bengals. I'm gonna go the Bengals at home to bounce back, like to win their first big game of the year, basically.
You know what? Give me Miami. I think it's ultimate because obviously this is two of the best wide. This is the two best wide receiver groups in the league, at least 1 through 3. But it comes down to the corners, and I'm way taking what Miami has in the cornerback room, or just in the secondary in general, over what Cincinnati has. If Tua plays, obviously I feel much better about this. If he doesn't play, I'm probably going to go Cincinnati. But if they threw him back out there in that Buffalo game, unless the NFL steps in and says like he's suspended or something, which I don't think. But you can't suspend Tua for the team.
But you can put him forcefully in the concussion protocol for a week.
Yeah, and then another thing is, dude, the Dolphins have already gotten their owner suspended and a draft pick taken away. The Dolphins can't keep having disciplinary actions come down from the league on them like this. So I don't know. It should be a very fun Thursday night game. I'm so glad that it's I'm going to say this every single time there's a like above average Thursday night game. I'm so glad it's not Texans Jags and like Jets Detroit anymore. Like I'm so happy that
and it's on Prime too. And like we've got Herb Street and Michaels.
It sucks that I have to watch it on my laptop, but what Amazon, like the graphics department and I love the Fitzpatrick, Richard Sherman, like that whole dynamic. I think it's great. I think they've done an excellent job
too.
It's really
That's
hard.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really hard to break in. Like I know when NFL Network did Thursday Night Football, like when Thursday Night Football was first starting, everyone hated it because it's like obviously it's in the middle of the week, so you're not like picking a new day to play football, but to essentially jump into something that you've never done, like they've never done college football. I don't even know if they've ever done a sporting event at like Amazon. So this is their first thing, and I think they've hit it out of the park so far.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And I know that Tyler said he doesn't like Herb Street and Al Michaels, but I've always loved Al Michaels, and I've always loved Herb Street.
I gotta say, hearing Al Michaels in the middle of the week is weird.
Yeah.
Like, hearing Al Michaels before I've already watched football all day, like hearing Al Michaels at the end of my day was how it's been for literally my entire life. And now that it's not like that, it's a little weird. But other than that, I agree.
I mean, it's kind of sad when I like look back and watch clips from Sunday Night Football on like TikTok and stuff because I can hear Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth together. It makes me upset. But yeah, Tirico stinks, by the way. I don't think that he's good at all. Huge fan of Collinsworth, obviously.
Tirico? You
I
hate
don't like Tirico at
Tirico?
all.
Dude, I think Tirico is goated. I'm taking Tirico over a lot of play-by-play
Let's
guys.
stop the conversation there. Like, I can't.
No, I'm serious, man. Tirico's
Right.
fine.
I mean, it's to each his own. To each his own. Like, broadcasters are definitely a personal preference thing, for sure.
I don't think there's a single broadcaster that I don't like. Like, the top. Like, everybody hates Collinsworth. I don't mind Collinsworth. I kind of like Collinsworth.
I don't like Buck and Aikman as much as everybody else does. I don't.
I think Buck and Aikman is probably towards the bottom. Somebody that I don't like, that I think I don't really like Romo. I can't really get behind Romo.
Why is that?
I love Jim Nance, but something about Romo just throws me off. I don't like him. I miss Phil Simms.
Oh no, Phil Simms has been throwing some shit out lately, bro. Like, he's been Ray Lewis, dude. He tried interrupting Ray Lewis while he was describing, like, he was breaking down a defense or something, and he was like, "Phil, if you ever try to interrupt me again, I'm taking your head off." Like, he said that in the booth. Like, and I was like, "This what?
Why is Ray Lewis?"
I know, that's what I'm saying. He was like in the studio.
I didn't know about that. I didn't even know Ray Lewis was in the studio. I didn't know Ray Lewis was in the studio. This is all news to me.
I mean, I don't know where Phil Simms is, but he's wherever Phil Simms is. And he bitched him and it made me smile.
Ray Lewis is wherever Phil Simms is.
Yeah.
Noted. So. Let's see.
Yeah, let's figure it out before we sign off.
Yeah.
This has been a really good episode, by the way.
I think so. He's Fox.
Okay. Ray Lewis is with Fox.
Phil Simms.
Fox.
Just Phil Simms.
I'm 99% sure.
He's on NFL Today. Phil Simms has been on CBS for a long time.
That's weird. Maybe it was... I don't know. If you look up Lewis Simms argument, I bet it'll pop up somewhere. But Ray Lewis, man, love to see him do an analysis.
Maybe. Yeah.
It's weird because, like, for example, Herb Street works for Prime Video and ESPN now. Like, I thought that he was signing over to Prime.
I thought that he was,
And
then I saw him on College Football Game Day the other day, and I was like, what?
Exactly. So dudes are putting their hands in multiple cookie jars. But yeah, I think that just about does us for the Week 3 recap episode. No technical difficulties. Let's fucking go, man. Best podcast in the land.
We probably haven't even been streaming this entire time.
Best podcast in the land. But yeah, it's been a good one. We will come out with an episode either most likely Friday after the Thursday night game. So looking forward to that. But yeah, enjoy the Thursday night football matchup, and we will catch you later this week.